So the first movement is from the island New Zealand, and it's part of the male warrior dance that they were doing, and they are down low and they step and they slap the inside of their legs. Another movement that they did was they had sticks and they stepped, so step with the stick. And then another movement was the women. They had 2 balls on one string, and they kind of held it so that the balls were moving and they were flicking it back and forth. And they also did it to the front. I did learn from the video that the original intent of those balls was for strengthening of the male's wrist, but eventually it kind of transformed into like an aesthetic thing, a thing of beauty for the women. The next island is Palau, and there the people that we saw dancing were mostly women. One of the movements that they did was and this was done during their dance that they do to call the spirits. The next movement from Palau is kind of a swing in the hips with the arms coming around. On their island, part of the traditional dress is a grass-like skirt. So it was the next movement they did with feathers. It was open, and then they had the feathers that they put down. A key takeaway from Palau is that in that island, women are in power and the traditions are passed down from mother to child. The next island is Guam, and one of the first movements we saw was kind of like a half spin. They held their skirts a lot, so it was the next movement from Guam was a stick dance movement. It was done between young children. So they had sticks and they kind of tapped their partner sticks. The next movement from Guam, again, these were women in grass-like skirts. So they were moving, so the arms come up and then they come down one by one, and then up one by one. And in Guam, they're very, very proud of their culture. The next island we went to was Samoa, and this is hard to see. One of the movements from Samoa was the feet, so they moved in and out across the floor. The next movement from Guam was done by the male dancers. They were all standing in a line and they had high knees. The traditional dance in Samoa is known as the taua, and Samoa is also a country that is very proud of their heritage, and they also have women leaders. The last island that we saw was New Caledonia, and one of the movements that we saw was a step forward and back, forward and back. Another movement that we saw was them coming down and taking a knee. A lot of the movements seemed tribal and very warrior-like. And one of the things that I did notice was that there were no women in the New Caledonia dance videos. So one of the things that all of the islands have in common when it comes to their beliefs and practices is that they all have an immense amount of pride in their culture and their practices and in their traditions, and they enjoy carrying them on from one generation to the next. One thing that I did notice that was different were that some of the islands had dances that included both males and females. Some had dances that only included women. And then as we got to New Caledonia, we saw that there were no women at all.